give you one body focus for today during your practice. And it has to do with a model of anatomical approach called Tensegrity. And really, we could think of it as a biomechanical approach as well. And so, from a simplistic perspective, what it means is that instead of viewing our body like bricks stacked, so like bones stacked, in which muscles just shorten to move the bones, I want you to think of your body as, you having this continuous fascial soft tissue suit. And so you can think of the bones as being suspended within that soft tissue suit. So how we are anywhere will affect down the line in the rest of the body as well. So specifically today, we'll focus in on the mechanics of respiration. So really zooming in on feeling what's happening in the trunk with breath, and considering that what's happening in the trunk with breath can have a profound effect on what we're feeling in our low back, in our pelvis, and on down, and also upstream as well. So go ahead and come onto your mat on your backside. If you have a block, have that ready. So you come all the way onto your back. And just come into a comfortable position. You can have knees bent, feet onto the ground, and have your hands placed where you can start to feel your breath, especially in your abdomen. Close your eyes down. And just start to take some deep, full breaths that you can feel in your belly. So again, having this attention and awareness on your own soft tissue suit. So if we didn't have any bones and you could see the shape of your body in this continuum of muscles interweaved in fascia, you can think of these soft tissues as creating a sort of tension support network for all of the joints and all of the bones. So as you're taking deep breaths in here, start to exaggerate the belly breath. So with a hand on your belly, taking deep breaths in and feeling the diaphragm drop down, affecting the digestive organs. And then as you exhale, feeling that softness come into your belly as the diaphragm recedes back up into the rib cage. And so as you do this, just starting to imagine and feel all of the muscles involved in breathing. We have specific inhalation muscles, specific exhalation muscles. And different muscles are recruited, whether we are just normally, naturally breathing, not really supporting it at all on purpose, but when we're intentionally breathing bigger breaths, additional muscles get recruited, additional nooks and crannies get affected. So I want you to exaggerate the inhale breath, really bringing that density into the belly. And imagining that as we touch on the functionality of the trunk, just by breathing more deeply, will have an effect on how our low back is feeling, how our hips are feeling. So continuing this long, deep breath pattern, take your hands beside you. So you'll sort of support your hands into the floor. You can have tent fingertips or palms down. And as you inhale, like a little baby cow pose rounding. So you'll make the space of your lumbar spine a little bigger between the mat and your body. And then as you exhale, a cat rounding. So keeping the feet flat, keeping the back of the head into the floor. Just keep going back and forth. So these are really tiny, zoomed in cat-cows, exaggerating the depth of the inhale, exaggerating the emptiness of the exhale. So we're using those added respiration muscles. So the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles between the ribs are the primary breathing muscles, but we could really think of all of the muscles attached to the ribs as being accessory breathing muscles. Now continuing this pattern, little tiny cat-cow tilts with the pelvis. Turn your thumbs to face the ceiling, arms out wide at an angle. So as you inhale next, you'll draw the arms back behind you in this big V and touch thumbs to the floor. And as you exhale and round, slowly bring the arms back forward to touch the floor. Keeping the back of the head gently pressed into the floor, breathing in, nice big V reach. Thumbs will touch the floor behind you as you allow the pelvis to be in the cow shape. And as you come forward and down, added muscular abdomen tension as you press the low back space into the floor. Now do it again. Breathe in. Take your thumbs back behind you. Keep your thumbs touched to the floor behind you as you continue the movement with the pelvis. If you find it hard to keep the hands or the thumbs touching on the floor, keep moving the pelvis, keep the thumbs touching. If it's difficult, take the hands wider, see if that gives you a little more space. Just really tuning in to all the soft tissue surrounding the abdomen all the way 360 around. Do one more round, and then from there, you'll just set tabletop on your back. So hands go straight into the air, knees go above the pelvis. So just imagine you're in tabletop on the floor, your floor surface is here, legs are at 90 degrees. Keep the back of the head slightly pressed into the floor and do a little more cat-cow movement here. Breathing out. If you want to change it a bit and have a different block between your knees, so you have a little more core activation there. So either way, the legs are going to rock a little bit as you go into cat rounding and as you go into cow. See if you can fixate the angles between the ankles, the knees, so they just stay steady. The hip joint changes. Do 2 more rounds. After those 2 rounds, keep the arms as they are. You could keep them there. Another option is to take support, hands out beside. So you're going to keep this fixation between the ankle and the knee joint. And then as you inhale, take the knees toward the right as far as you can go and still be stable. And as you exhale, draw them right back to center. Breathing in the opposite direction, little tilt of the whole lower body. Exhale back to center. And then go both directions one more time. Keeping the same relationship between the ankles, the toes, the knees, and the hips here. So really rotating the spine, shifting the pelvis a bit. Good. When you're ready, draw your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your legs. No hurry there once you finish. So like you're doing a child's pose, but on your backside. So hugging in, get that stretch in the posterior side of the body. Roll your forehead forward for a moment. And then take some little egg beater motions with your knees. So pelvis on the ground, but like kind of laterally, Dave. So circle. And see if you can do separate motions. So one knee goes one way, the other knee goes the other way. Sorry to make you think so hard. And now from here, take your heels together. Yeah, knees are bent like Dave has them here. Hips are still flexed. Heels together, but feet in a V. And so spread your toes apart. And as you squeeze your heels in, think of really activating muscles that are going to draw the inner thighs, but you're keeping your knees nice and wide. Now, wrap your arms around your legs. This is a little tricky, but you're going to grab onto your shins wherever you can. So knees keep pressing, toes are out wide. Now from here, a little rock back and forth. So it will feel awkward at first. Little rock back and forth. That's how Dave's getting a little snag time as he comes up. So keeping the squeeze between the knees, little pause. If something interesting is happening at home, just laugh about it. Little pause time, hold the top, go 3 more back and forth. So keep the medial squeeze between the heels. Knees wide. And then hold up the top as you can. Hold up, pause. Pause and balance, 5. Keep squeezing the heels medially for 4, 3, and 2. Good. Release to the floor. Take a wide-legged full pigeon setup. The right leg on top, left leg on bottom. So come up to seated. So right leg on top, left leg on bottom. And by wide-legged, I mean keeping the knees kind of wide. letting this top foot just be anywhere on the shin. You can also keep the foot forward if it's not a good angle for your knees or whatever reason it doesn't feel good there. You could use a block under the front foot. And from here, once you have your legs set up, just sit nice and tall, take a big inhale breath, and just hinge at the hip creases forward. So just a little gentle hello into the outer hips here. And even here, returning back to this idea of full body connectivity with this Tensegrity model and taking really deep breaths that affect the abdomen, the spaces between the ribs, on the back sides, the lateral sides, the front. This Tensegrity model kind of tells us as if we have a little wrinkle like higher up in this suit, this fascial suit, then it could very well affect way down below or way up above. Go ahead and switch out other leg on top. You might even, for today's practice, even allow, as you breathe in, allow more belly action. So allow your belly to pooch out a little bit more rather than holding it in tight. So getting all of the soft tissues massaged that contain the trunk and the respiration space. Take 2 more of your breaths here. And as you unravel whatever easiest pathway to make your way to tabletop position, do that here. Couple of rounds of cat-cow from tabletop. And so as we think of getting the soft tissues around the trunk space mobile and movable, even think about the scapulothoracic joint, so the space between the shoulder blades where they slide on the ribs. That's going to affect the breathing, which is going to affect the low back and the pelvis as well. So from here, eventually making your way into downward facing dog pose. This theme and this idea of taking bigger breaths and how the way we're breathing affects profoundly the rest of our body really came to me because I noticed myself in the past 10 days like really breathing shallowly. And also having some achiness in my low back and in my hips, and just remembering that how we breathe has a profound effect on our whole body from many different facets, but today just looking at this musculoskeletal perspective. Take 2 more full breaths, just making them really big and deep, feeling them soft tissues stretch. When you're ready, let an inhale breath bring you to a high plank position. So just bringing a gentle warming to the body as you hold high plank. And even here, noticing if the effort or position constrains the breath. So can you start to be in a more efforted, stronger action in your body without impeding your own respiratory patterns? Can you breathe into the belly here? It's interesting and different. See if you can do it. Make your way through 1 more full inhale breath. And then down dog slow, draw your hips up, back, and away. Breathe in. Long, full exhale breath. Make your way to the top of your mat for either a forward fold ragdoll or a feet wide yogi squat. Do a little of both if that feels good. And be curious about either position and what it feels like to breathe maybe a little more abnormally compared to how you normally do. So just letting the belly expand more with the in breaths. With every single breath and every full body action, just thinking of this whole body, soft tissue suit that you're affecting holistically. Wiggle your feet into about hip-width distance apart. On your next inhale, lift up into halfway lift. Take airplane wings. Turn your palms to face the ground. You can be slightly uphill or a little more parallel to the floor. You choose, but beam through the crown of your head. Be strong between your shoulder blades here. Take a really expansive, stretching inhale breath. Keep your arms like this, but dive forward. Keep your arms like this. Let them have a little stretch through your chest. Halfway lift again, keeping the arms active. Exhale, fold. Same thing with the arms. And then sweep up to extended mountain when your breath leads you to it. Standing here, let the breath spill all the way out. Just standing in neutral, just noticing neutral, strong, stable position in your body. Get even through the soles of your feet. And just feel a slight activation of your lower belly as you draw your tailbone down slightly. As you breathe in, imagine 360 expansion of the ribs and the belly. Stay through one more inhale breath, expanding in all directions. Then bend your knees and fold as the breath empties as far as it possibly can. Halfway lift. Fold. Rise, extended mountain, big 360 breath. Stay here as the breath spills till there's no more breath to empty. Take one more, lifting, reaching. Fold. Halfway lift. Low push-up. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Let your heels lift as you breathe in. Nice long full breath. Keep them high. Bend your knees as you gaze forward. Exhale all the air. Jump or step forward. Halfway lift. Fold forward. Rise, extended mountain. Chair. Inhale. Dive down. Halfway. Low push-up. Taking time to breathe through upward and downward. Think of it like that, breathing through the motions. Eventually, right foot forward to build your warrior one pose. So as you get your legs set, as you build the pose, an initial reach up with your arms just to get your body in this sort of gathering space action. And then take your hands down and place your right hand on your belly and your left hand back behind you. So kind of in the back of the pelvis, low spine. And just accentuate the breath there for a little bit. So inhaling, letting your body press into both palms, expanding front to back. And imagining all of these soft tissues affecting the connectivity, the ripple down through your pelvis, your knees, your ankles. Take your hands to the lateral hips, so as if you could feel some expansion, lateral belly, lateral hips. And then take the hands to outer rib spaces. So just sort of wrap around, get as much as your ribs in contact with your hands as possible. And can you direct more intention with the breath there? Just starting to poke and prod tissues that we don't normally do without paying attention to them. And then eventually take your arms back up and think of just expanding into the whole container of your trunk with your breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take one more full expansive low push-up. Moving through your upward facing dog, your downward facing dog, taking your time. eventually building the other side. So if you want a round of breath in down dog first, do that. And so really just using the asana, the posture, as a vehicle for awareness. So get into it, and then you decide, like using your hands in whatever way, just to feel your breath expanding and intentionally moving into spaces that it doesn't normally. So we're using all the accessory breathing, inhale muscles, all of the extra accessory exhalation muscles as we exaggerate the breath here a bit. Moving hands around, letting your hands be this tactile awareness of sending the breath into spaces that it doesn't normally reach into. You're just feeling your own way when you're ready, taking your hands up and keeping this really exaggerated sense of the breath, moving the soft tissues of the trunk. You'll take one more inhale, 360 expansion, low push-up, upward facing dog. Alrighty, downward facing dog. Good job, you guys. A couple of breaths in down dog, or take your knees to the floor if child's pose is calling you and you want to just get that sensation in your body for a moment, do that. Give yourself one more round of breath. We'll move into some fluid sun bees right here. We'll start here. So one more inhale, let your heels come nice and high as you breathe in. Bend your knees, gaze forward, waiting for it. Wide as you can. Jump or step forward, halfway. Forward bow. Rise, extended mountain. Chair. Breathe in. Fold forward. Halfway. Low to up dog. To downward facing dog. Really putting the attention on full breaths. Right side warrior one when you're ready. A one inhale rise. And linking through. Low to up dog. Downward facing dog. Other side. And just not impeding the breath. Keep it flowing. It's so valuable to just notice where our breath gets cut short, when we're breathing fully, when we're not breathing fully on our mats, and then really in every moment of our lives. Take one more full inhale breath. We'll go one more round, sun B. One more complete emptying exhale breath. Jump, step, or float. Halfway lift. Dive down. Rise, extended. Chair. Big breath in right here. And we'll throw in a handstand crow or yogi squat. So you choose. Even here, maybe not necessarily controlling the breath. It's got to do what it's got to do to support your body, but just notice where it goes and just see if you can put a little more intentional pattern in the breathing with whatever you're doing. Hold for 5 or keep moving, playing for 4, 3, 2, flow through. Excellent. Moving through low to up dog to downward facing dog. Take a big inhale breath once you're there and a big ah breath, let it go. Look forward, step, jump, or float. Breathe through halfway lift and fold. Take yourself through a rise, extended mountain, taking your time, and then come into chair pose. So we'll do a little added, maybe not so much, but twist postures today because it's a good place to really notice this interconnectivity between the trunk, the low spine, and the pelvis. You can take your hands to your heart center when you're ready and just setting the stage here, getting nice and stable through your pelvis and legs. and get that breathing going, that 360 breath through the back, the sides, and the front. So really working on rib space expansion. And then on your next inhale, get nice and long, and left lung rotates under for your twist here. And so just being curious about how the breath gets impeded when you rotate. Where does it stop? You can take your arms in any other position. Dave's experimenting with coming out and in of the twist in a really micro sort of way. We're going to take 3 more breaths, however you've chosen to work it here, whether it's steady or not. Focusing mostly on the space your breath is taking up. Your third exhale breath can fold you to release. I'm just feeling that pass through for a moment. Nod your head a bit. Take 1 more inhale and exhale breath. Then rise all the way up, extended mountain. Take your left leg behind you, warrior. Sort of shifting into, you can stay up higher with your chest to modify it. To amplify, go down a little lower with your chest, a little lower with your head, keeping it in line with the spine. And then notice your left hip level. See if you can tip it down in line with the right hip. Rolling the kneecap down, the left one down a little bit more. Take 1 more inhale breath. Gently land crescent lunge. Reset your footing. Take a moment to reestablish your primary focus on this 360 breath expansion into the ribs, into the belly space. And our hands at heart center, keeping the primary focus on the breath expansion. Start to lean forward and go into your twist. But to see how far you can go without getting in the way of that full breath. You don't have to go super big in the twist. If you're not taking the left hand down in any way like Dave is, you're really using the muscles surrounding the trunk to do the twist. Take 1 more inhale breath. 1 more exhale breath. And then warrior 2, open up wide from there. Take the arms out wide. Settle in. Either keeping the arms out wide, or if you feel it, doing this tactile, wiring in for your own somatic experience of the breath, feeling the ribs, feeling the belly. And even notice if you're strengthening or efforting in a particular place in your body that's shutting the breath off, and when you can, soften those spaces. Take a full 360-degree breath in right here. And then use a little extra added effort to breathe all the air out. Then a reverse warrior up, back, and away. Half moon balance from here as you're ready, just tipping forward, right hand forward and down. So right fingertips can be on a block. Right fingertips can be on the floor. You can have an invisible block under your right hand and just hover that bottom hand. And so here in this strong pose, just feel how you can set the stability. And then can you make room for the breath to still happen in a really expansive way, even letting some breath move more so into the belly than usual in this pose. Maybe taking a moment to imagine this full body, soft tissue suit. All of your actions affect the rest of the body. Take 3 more of your breaths, navigating it here. Your third exhale breath is either forward fold or stand, whichever is most relevant in your body. Everybody eventually making your way to stand, to extended mountain. Take arms up, set your feet. Take a moment to set the evenness through the soles of your feet, the inner outer edges. On an exhale breath, with a lot of attention, going into chair pose. In each pose you go into, a little pause and just noticing, did you go so deep that so much effort is starting to block the breath? If so, lessen the effort, expand the breath. So you'll take your variation of twist to the left this time. And again, you can do this little micro going in and out as Dave's doing, a little tiny shift into the twist with the exhale, coming out with the inhale, or you can hold steady. But notice where the breath is taking up space in your trunk right now. Take 3 more of them. When you're ready from there, releasing with an exhale breath to a forward fold. Let the spine pour, let the weight of your head pour. Good job. Take a breath in right here. Take a big exhale breath. And then slowly rise, extended mountain, come all the way up and away. And we'll make our way warrior 3 on the opposite leg. So I believe it's right leg back this time. Is that right, Dave? Yeah. Oftentimes, it's really good information to notice what you do in urgent situations. So when your body's working really hard, notice what's happening with the breath, noticing what's happening with the head position. Those are really golden moments to practice this functionality in the body. 2 more of your breaths to eventually get to your crescent lunge landing, taking your time, and let that landing be soft. So that's indicative of your body being in good control if you can land in that soft way. So again, taking a moment here just to reestablish that primary focus of full expansive breath. Notice automatic patterns of engaging other places or over-engaging in a way that blocks the breath, and soften around those spaces. So you'll start to make your way into your rotation from here, so leaning forward. And you choose here, again, you have the option of using the right hand in some way as a leverage or support, or just keeping prayer hands. If you're needing to lessen the intensity here, you can also put the back knee down. 3 more of your breaths. Be really precise with them. Notice the breath space that's being taken up. When you're to that 4th inhale breath, a big opening up into warrior 2 pose when you get there. And really good just to use breath reference as a point of awareness today. We get distracted really easy. I do, I know. Really distracted away from like task at hand. So bringing yourself back to the expansive breath, ribs, belly. Even noticing the shoulders might rise a little as the ribs move a little. Just making sure that's not excessive. Take 1 more inhale breath right here, and 1 more using a little extra oomph to breathe out. And then reverse warrior as you're ready. Make your way to half moon balance. So just a point of reminder, if you're not used to doing this pose a lot, is just to notice the bottom foot. Aim to keep the toes forward, but you might notice that your structure needs your bottom toes to go to the right a little bit. Just notice. You'll feel a compressive point if that's the case in your pelvis somewhere. If that's the case, let your toes turn a bit. And just a full body scan here to notice if you're coming into effort, that's blocking the free flow of expansive breath. And if so, lessen the posture intensity and increase the breath intensity a bit here. You've got 3 breaths to navigate, whether that means coming out, coming back in. Stay with it. Your 3rd inhale finds that last little peak of your pose when you get there. 3rd exhale is either a fold or either a stand, whichever is most relevant in your body. Give the weight of your head a nod if you're in a fold. If you're standing, little asymmetrical reaches side to side. And then go ahead and come into Yogi Squat. Take your feet as wide as you need to. Let your pelvis drop down. And then let your elbows sort of leverage inner knees, palms come together. And just in this position, practicing letting the inhale go all the way down into belly expansion. So not holding the belly at all. Good thing about being at home, maybe practicing by yourself, is you don't care about letting your belly expand. So let the belly pooch way out. You might even feel the belly connect with your thighs as you breathe in. You might feel the belly recede away from the thighs a little bit as you breathe out. And close your eyes for a moment and just imagine this full body, soft tissue suit that you have in which the bones are just suspended within. As you poke and prod the tissues of the belly and the back and the trunk, you're having a profound ripple effect on the low back, the pelvis, the knees, the ankles, and upward. Take one more full inhale breath, and then just navigate straddle fold. So you'll take the right foot toward the back of the mat for straddle fold. And so just find what combination of foot angle, knee bend, and hip placement allows the most comfort. And just kind of feel that out. What allows you to have the spine sort of weighted forward, the head sort of weighted forward. And in this upside down position, experience the breath. So the same idea of experiencing the full breath. It's quite interesting when our body's upside down and the diaphragm's moving in the opposite direction. Really the same direction in the body, but according to gravity, opposite direction. And then making sure your feet placement support this, you're just going to reach over. Right hand will grab the left shin bone. So you're taking this sort of rotation in the trunk. Left arm can do a variety of things. I like to take mine up and wrap it around the back. But from here, think of drawing the right scapula down toward the right shoulder head, toward the floor. So you're feeling that space, that right scapulothoracic joint, so where the shoulder blade slides on the ribs. At the same time, on the exhale breath, getting a slight rotation, not forcing anything. Take two more of your breaths in this position. Right hand holding left shin. And then switch it out when you're ready. Take the opposite hand, left hand anchors onto the shin bone. If you need to reset your feet, this side might be a little different. Side, how you're going to use your right hand, maybe wrap the right arm behind, maybe catching all the way onto your left leg or left hip crease. And then focusing in on sliding the left shoulder blade down toward the floor, kind of tracking the direction of the shoulder head. And so just thinking of how movable the shoulder blades are also has a profound effect on the breathing patterns, which has a big ripple effect on how our low back is feeling, how our hips are feeling. Take one more round of breath here, in and out. And then just walk your hands around when you're ready, building into downward facing dog for a round of breath once you're there. Good idea to let your mouth open and just let the exhale out of your mouth to breathe out. Let that clear through. And then as you inhale, pull forward to plank pose. So holding on your feet if possible here, going to knees is an option. If you're holding on the feet, we're just going to do a little massaging work into the ankles and feet. So as you inhale, you draw the heels way forward. So this is a plantar flexion. And as you exhale, draw the heels way back. And just keep that going. So you're fixating again between the wrist and the shoulders, spine, hips, knees. You're just moving at the ankle joint, pointing the feet, flexing the feet, massaging the tissues of the toes and the soles of the feet. Do two more rounds back and forth. Just see how slow you can make them. See how far forward, how far back you can rock. And then hold a neutral position, holding plank strong. So really lifting from the legs, but letting the belly breath happen here best you can. Holding a big 360 breath for 5. You'll start bending your elbows a little for 4. Focusing on the breath for 3, 2, and 1. Go all the way down to the floor. Let your arms rest beside you. Good job, everybody. Being on the belly is an amazing position to feel the breath moving. I'm just thinking the functionality and how we're feeling in our hips and in our low back, which is like one of the number one complaints of all people with pain, is low back and hip pain. But if you can think, it really depends on how our body can handle the tension and stresses from the inside and also from the outside of the body. How well our trunk moves with breath and how our digestive organs are supported all plays in. So take 3 rounds of breath on your belly, exaggerating the expansion of the inhale and maybe even holding it for a moment when you get to the full part of the breath in. Can you feel the connectivity between the soft tissues of the ribs and the low spine and the pelvis? All right, setting up for a little efforted action here from your belly. Draw your feet a little closer so they're about hip width distance apart. Airplane wings, palms face down, and lift the chest off the floor. So you start activating between your shoulder blades. Get really powerful in those muscles between the shoulder blades. Lift your legs off the floor. As you do this, use the glutes to lift your legs a little higher. Use your quadriceps a little more. Sneak the right arm forward if it's okay in your shoulder. If your shoulder doesn't feel okay with this or your back, don't do it. Sweep your left arm forward to meet. Now a little asymmetrical emphasis. As you breathe in, lift your right hand and left leg a little higher. Let that go, and as you breathe out, the opposite hand and opposite foot lift. Keep going back and forth with your breath, lifting and letting off, lifting and letting off. For 5, working opposite limbs together. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Make it even at the end, and then let it all go. Or don't. You can ditch the even part at the end. Belly breath into the floor. I'm so passionate about just anatomical, biomechanical attention in the body because really the ripple effect goes way, way farther than that. As we all know, the way we breathe and the way we move in our bodies has a profound effect on our mental health as well. But we don't even have to think about that. It just happens. Take 3 more breaths right here. Really give them to your body, your mind. Once you're through those breaths, we'll set up 1 round of belly bow here. So bend your legs, reach back, and catch on to your legs. So option to take hands to legs and do both-sided. A couple of other options. You could do skydiver, just reaching back, not hooking onto the legs. You could do one-sided belly bow. So the opposite arm would just reach forward, opposite leg would release. So from here, 5 of your breaths. If you're doing one-sided, you'll just feel about halfway. You'll switch sides when you get there. What does it feel like to attempt to expand the belly with the inhale in this pose? Really interesting. When you get to your 5th exhale breath, you can let it go, let your whole body drop. Yeah, and then bend your legs and little rock and back and forth, side to side, just sort of rocking out the sacrum, the pelvis, the low spine. And then just turn over to your backside from here. Just roll over, set up bridge pose. Just feel it out. Draw your heels in close to your body. You're welcome to take your feet a little wider. You're welcome to angle your toes out a little wider. It just gives a different perspective, as most of you know. And so from here, flatten the low back space. So you have that little tiny muscular action in the belly, but not so much that it impedes the breath. So before you lift up, get that 360 breath emphasis going. And then keep that. Keep that as you lift up. So I'm asking you to take a different perspective here as well. Take the focus off of the aesthetics or even the biggest mechanics of the pose, but put it on the breathing mechanics. What shape of the pose supports this full flow breath you can feel in your belly, that you can feel in your lateral ribs? Let your belly rise with the inhale. Let it rise. Let it fill up like a balloon. Let it pause for a moment. Let it spill out. And you do one more like that. Like your belly balloon, fill up. Keep it expanded for a moment. Then as you exhale, you can lower yourself all the way down. A little massage for your spine into the floor. Let a breath move through. All right, so we're going to go through the same setup, setting your feet. So we'll go either bridge, either wheel, whatever one you want here. But first, please just pause, set up this primary focus of the breathing, and then start to build your pose. So you're going to approach the pose in a curious way, especially if you're going into wheel pose. The breath is going to change, obviously. There's no way to be in that shape for the breath not to change. But be really curious if there's places that really block the breath a whole lot. Is it possible to soften? Maybe, maybe not. And could you send the momentum of the breath into nooks and crannies that don't usually feel that inner to outer stretch of the breathing? From right now, take 3 more of your breaths, navigating, feeling, coming in and out. Your third exhale, you can let it all go, come down to the floor. Let your knees tent together. Let your feet just slide wide. Let your arms rest. Just observe your natural breathing pattern without you intentionally shifting it at all. What can happen sometimes is that our autonomic, our natural breathing pattern can diminish, especially with stressful times, anxious times. And so sometimes just noticing where it is naturally, notice how much space it's taking up naturally. And then just compassionately inviting it to expand a little bit. Hug your knees into your chest, wrap your arms around your legs. Rock around a little bit here. And invert, take your legs up in the air in whatever way you'd like. Waterfall from your back is just putting legs straight up in the air. If you have a cushion or a block to put under your hips, you can. And again, as you go upside down, just a really interesting space to observe the breathing, observe the diaphragm moving, observe the ribs moving in this upside down relationship with gravity. Take 3 more of your breaths here. Once you get through your 3 breaths, take any counter pose that you need. If you're in headstand and you want to pause a few moments in child's pose, do so. If you have legs up, just letting them come down and feeling that release of them to the ground as blood flow gets a little more vibrant in the toes of feet. And eventually just make your way to your back. No hurry. So take your 3 breaths here. As you make your way to your backside, we're going to return to this pose. I don't know, I think we did it a couple of days ago. But from the backside, this flying pigeon. So you would take your right leg and shape it like a half pigeon pose. And there's a few ways. So you could just hold hand to knee and hand to foot with your right leg in this half pigeon shape. You could do sort of forearm press to the foot and the knee. So your arms are just sort of active, palms facing each other. If you have a little more space to work with here, you could take the right elbow crook all the way wrapped around the right knee, left elbow crook all the way to the foot. You don't have to force any of this. Again, a block behind the head or a pillow behind the head. If you need that to rest the head and neck, do so. Now the left leg is going to extend long. Point the foot to start. As you breathe in with a pointed foot, swipe until your leg connects the arms. Flex the foot as you go down. So a big swipe up and plantar flexion, little connection. Dorsiflexion, heel leads the way. Do 3 more rounds of this. Keep the toes as spread as possible so you're active all the way down to the bottom of your fascial suit. Connecting the breath, the pelvis, the toes, the ankles. All right, switch it out when you're there, and any little wiggling you need in between, do so. Yeah, the side might be way different. Again, you could just use your hands. You could just do a little forearm press, but shape the left leg in this half pigeon sort of shape. Right leg out. Plantar flex as you swipe up. So point the foot as you swipe up on the right side. Use the breath. Dorsiflex as you breathe out and go down. So just letting this lift and lower of the right leg have this little shift of the pelvis. So you're going to have a little anterior, tiny little posterior tilt as you go up and down, which is going to change the perspective of stretch that's happening in the outer left hip, outer left thigh. 2 more rounds of breath. Awesome. You can let all of that go once you're there. And then happy baby pose. So grab your big toes, knees out wide. Just give yourself a little rock left and right. And then let your right leg straighten out more. Let your left leg straighten out more. Both legs straighten out more. Even if you change your hand grip here, take a few breaths. You can shut your eyes down. Hug your knees into your chest. Drop your arms around your legs. Take a big inhale breath like that. And then let your knees fall together to the right. You might shift your bottom hip to the left more on your mat to get a little more comfortable. Take your left arm out to the side. So, whatever effort you have right now in your body, just from getting set up into the pose, over the next couple of breaths, let it soften, let it dissipate. You get softer and softer, a little more let go into the ground, into the floor. Gently make your way to the opposite side, twist. So effort comes in here, a little bit of effort to shift your body, to move your body. Effort still here as you set up, and you just take your arm out to the right and you set your gaze. And then over the next couple of breaths, this idea of dropping the effort in your whole body with the exhalation. Unravel yourself back to center. Give your knees a squeeze and your arms around. You can take fingertips to soles of feet. Do that. If not, just grabbing onto shins wherever it works. Squeeze into this tiny little ball. Take a breath in as big as you can into your belly. Feel it press into your thighs, and a big emptying breath out. Go ahead and let go. Stretch your legs out. Stretch your arms out. As you breathe in, pulling out and away from the center of your body, and then soften limbs, drop into the floor. Just sort of scan through your whole body and decide here if you need to choose a different position to be comfortable today. Before you let the breath go completely here, gentle, give yourself 3 of those exaggerated, filling up all the nooks and crannies that you can find with the inhale breath, using accessory breathing muscles, possibly holding that full sort of balloon expansive state of the abdomen when you get there. Once you get through those last 3 efforted, intentional breaths, just let it all go. Let your breath go wherever it needs to go. Just watch it. There's time for this right now. There's time to stay. begin to move a little through your fingers and palms and toes and soles of feet, ankles. Take a couple of deep breaths before you bring yourself up here. As you come into a seat, just come into a nice supported seat you can sit tall in, that you can feel stable and comfortable in. Let's just seal our practice together today with this all-important reminder of this amazing gift that we have of having this profound ripple effect through our musculoskeletal body, our minds, our energy on so many levels, just by choosing to intentionally breathe. Take 2 really big, expansive breaths here just to kind of wire in that reminder that you have throughout the day. You can take your hands together to your heart center. We'll take one more inhale all together. Big emptying exhale breath. The light in me sees and honors the light in all of you. All together we say namaste. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Love you guys. I was just realizing, like, in a sort of